So stick around just for a second as we'll talk about it. I've definitely got some complaining to do on this morning's episode. Not about the guest. Guest was great. You guys are going to love it. But some technical difficulties have led to a strange episode of Wake and Take about to occur, but we're still going to talk football. We're going to talk Keenan Allen. We're going to talk Hollywood Brown. We're going to talk a trade that broke just 5 minutes ago. And we're going to talk about all the other trending topics that have been going on this week with my wonderful guest, Austin Abbott. So go ahead, pull out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, so welcome in, everyone. Glad to see you all on this wonderful morning. We've got some football to talk about, but first, I want to complain. I want to peel back the curtain a little bit and just talk about today's episode because it's an interesting one. This episode was not supposed to be live. I'm not supposed to be live streaming right now, but StreamYard has decided to make things difficult on me. Yesterday afternoon, had the pleasure sitting down with Austin Abbott FF on Twitter, pre-recording an episode, talking about the trending topics, getting his thoughts on the draft, giving me a hot take, you know, the usual. And it went great. It went swimmingly. I was going to put it up this morning and just kind of watch along with you guys. But StreamYard had different plans for some odd reason. StreamYard, normally, I've done this before. You guys have seen it. I've uploaded pre-recorded videos. For some reason, this one, when I saved it, saved as 15.5 megabits per second, or what, like the bit rate was over 15. And so I go to upload it. It takes about an hour and a half because it's a long video. We're talking for a while. And at 99%, StreamYard says, oh, the bitrate is too high. We actually can't upload this video. And I'm like, well, it's like 920 right now. I don't have enough time to re-export this video in a lower bitrate. I don't have enough time to re-upload it. I just waited an hour and a half. So I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. Either I'm just going to have to go live and scrap the interview and just do the show, or figure something else out. And I've figured something out. So screw StreamYard for making me have to figure it out, but I'm glad that we still get to talk about some stuff that Austin and I didn't get to talk about. Again, I talked with him yesterday afternoon, so the Keenan Allen news hadn't broke yet. The Marquise Brown news hadn't broke yet. And this trade with the Vikings and the Texans hadn't broken yet. So we're here. I'm live. I'm going to talk about those three things I just mentioned that hadn't happened before the interview. And then I'm going to bring it and actually play the video on the live stream. Check it out. I'll just do it for a second. Check this out. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Just to prove the video exists. So we're going to talk about Keenan Allen, Marquise Brown, and all that real quick. And then you guys will get to watch that video. I'm going to step behind the screen and you'll get to hear from Austin. It's going to be great. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and talk about what you're probably here for this morning, which just works out well because you weren't even going to hear anything about this. I was just going to wait till Monday and post some TikToks or whatever and then talk about it later. But now you get to hear about it. Keenan Allen traded to the Chicago Bears, 4th round pick. First off, surprised it's only a 4th round pick, but just goes to show how the NFL kind of values these aging receivers. He had a stellar year last season and was on pace to even break the NFL record for most receptions in a season. So I would have expected he could garner more than a 4th round pick, but that's all he gets. And the Bears are ecstatic. The Bears get to now give Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen, plus Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift. That is a great set of weapons behind you as a rookie quarterback. And I'm very excited for what that offense is going to look like next season. One thing to say is that DJ Moore had 136 targets last year. Darnell Mooney only had 60. But the Bears were 24th in pass plays per game, not really chucking it a ton. I do think with Caleb Williams now also investing in a better receiving back and a better second receiver, that we're going to see the Bears pass the ball a lot more, especially as Caleb Williams isn't as mobile as Justin Fields. They're not going to run the ball with the quarterback as much either. So I think both DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are going to be relevant for your fantasy football squads next season. they both definitely have lost some ceiling. They are not going to finish as wide receiver ones anymore. I really highly doubt it. But they'll probably both be wide receiver twos, maybe middle to high end wide receiver twos with some spike weeks. And it's going to be nice. I'm excited for it. And I don't think you should trade either of them. I think now they're going to take a hit in value. I mean, DJ Moore owners are not happy Keenan Allen is there. And Keenan Allen owners, myself included, are pissed he's no longer the only target on the Chargers. So it does suck in terms of their value, but I think that they will both have a good 2024 season. Caleb Williams is going to love them both, and it's going to be nice. And I think that this also suggests that their number 9 pick that the Bears have is probably going to be traded. I think that the Bears will trade back because the Chargers, with their number 5 pick, are now probably getting Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors, or maybe even using that 5 to trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr., which is definitely not out of the realm of possibility here. And why don't I talk about that for a second? When you think about Jim Harbaugh and what he's done at Michigan, he's played against 2 of those wide receivers that I named. Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, the only wide receiver to go for over 100 yards against Michigan last season, and Rome Odunze that they faced off against the national championship. I would put money that it is either one of those wide receivers over Malik Neighbors for this Chargers team. I know it sounds crazy, but I really do think that Jim Harbaugh saw something in either one of those players while scouting for his Michigan squad last season and wants them on the Chargers. You know, you don't get rid of Keenan Allen if you're not heavily invested in one of these wide receiver prospects. Very excited to see who comes in. It's going to be special. It's not going to be Brock Bowers anymore. I mean, it could be, I guess. It could still be Brock Bowers. No matter what, they're getting a receiving option. I think it'll be Rome Odunze or trading up for Marvin Harrison Jr., but it could be Brock Bowers. I don't think it'll be Malik Neighbors, but I do think someone else will take Malik Neighbors before it gets to pick number 9, and the Bears probably aren't going to be able to have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think they might have to move back and just accrue some more capital because they've traded a lot of picks now outside of their first round. So anyway, pretty interesting stuff. Very exciting. I think this almost guarantees that Caleb Williams will be in Chicago. And it also makes you feel bad for Justin Fields. They never, ever invested this much in Justin Fields' weapons until last year. I know they got DJ Moore, but it just wasn't enough. You know, they kept throwing out Darnell Mooney and just not really investing in the running back room or the offensive line that much. So you feel for Fields, but you feel good for Caleb Williams. Now let's talk a little bit of Hollywood Brown. Marquise Brown is signing with the Chiefs, and I'm very excited about this one. I love Hollywood Brown. I don't know why. I've really never been able to quit the guy. I had him his rookie season, his second season, his third season, his fourth season, and even in redraft leagues, just kept always ending up with him on my squad. I'm just attracted to these speedy wide receivers. You guys know it. I still can't even quit Jamison Williams. So, of course, I like Hollywood Brown. But I love him even more on the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm mad at myself for not trading him in more dynasty leagues. I feel like the writing had been on the wall for this one for a minute, with him just being the last receiver available, him having the speed that the Chiefs need, and the Chiefs not really making any splash moves yet. It was almost destined to happen. I'm glad it happened. Marquise Brown is still a great wide receiver, especially pairing that speed and talent with Patrick Mahomes' arm. I don't think, he's going to be the main target here. He might not even be the second target, but he's certainly going to have some ceiling games. He's going to, he's so much, guys, he's so much better than Marcus Valdes-Scantling, so much better than Mecole Hardman. It is almost sad how much better this wide receiver is than them. I think it's going to be special. He's averaged at least 10 points per game in every single year he's been in the league, except for last season. But last season, he still averaged 9.6 points per game, which is really respectable. And only 57% of his targets last season were charted as catchable passes per playerprofiler.com, only averaging about 4 catchable targets a game. Just was not connecting very well in that offense with Kyler Murray, unfortunately. It'll be a lot better with Patrick Mahomes. I think we'll see his first 1,000-yard season since 2021, and I think he'll even push his best touchdown total of 8 that he had the year before in 2020. Wheels up for Hollywood Brown. Final takeaway: there's going to be a crap ton of wide receivers taken in the first round of this draft. so many wide receivers that the Chiefs do not believe that the option they want will be available for them at 32. I know they've been tied heavily to Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, one of these speedy options, maybe a Brian Thomas. They don't feel that they can get a speedy option at 32. They don't feel it. And that's why they've moved on from that, or they've not moved on. They still have the pick, but they're just signing a wide receiver so they don't have to take that risk. Could they still draft a wide receiver? Maybe. But I think they're probably going to be looking elsewhere now that they've brought in Marquise Brown, at least with their first round pick, because I think there's going to be a lot of wide receivers drafted this year, and the Chiefs know it. So that is the 2 wide receiver talk. As the chat mentions, there was a trade that broke literally just before I went live. It happened like 15, 20 minutes ago. The Vikings are getting the Texans' first round pick, number 23, and another pick, like 232, so who cares? And the Texans will be getting pick 42, the Vikings' third round pick. Second round pick, sorry. So basically, the Vikings are getting the Texans' first round pick and a later pick. The Texans are getting the Vikings' second round pick, a later pick, and a second round pick next year. I think fantastic move for the Texans. They could use the capital, but they don't necessarily need like the top end talent, first round talent. I think they're happy to have 2 second round picks and to also go back to the well next season. The Texans have a lot of salary cap. Their team is pretty bolstered all around. So I don't think they're really too worried about that first round pick, and they can kind of take some stabs in the second round now. And this allows the Vikings to try to trade up in the draft. They now have pick 11 and 23, and they're clearly hurting for a quarterback. They can now offer 2 first-round picks and a first-round pick next season probably to try to move up, and probably more. So I expect the Vikings to at least try to move up. It's probably not to 101. It could be, really could be. But it might be like a Drake May, Jaden Daniels type situation. Probably a Drake May, maybe a JJ McCarthy as well if they feel they have to move up from 11 to get him. But either way, I think it's a fun move for both sides. The Vikings get to try to move up if they have to, or if they don't have to, they get 2 first-round picks that they need. They've kind of ruined their team a little bit. And then the Texans also get to take some more stabs in the second round and next year, which is good for them. So that was a quick rundown of yesterday and this morning's breaking news. I guess I'll answer really quick. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them, because I'm about to, kick it to me and Austin as we talk about his stuff. But thank you all for tuning into the live portion. I don't see any questions. I hope you all have a fantastic Friday, a wonderful weekend. I'll see you all Monday on the Player Profiler YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Now let's check out the other episode of Wake and Take that was supposed to air today, my wonderful interview with Austin Abbott. Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest as we're going to break down some of the trending topics going around right now, talking about some free agency signings, taking a look into the draft coming up, and of course, talking some of yesterday's trades and other free agency moves. And as usual, we'll have him give us a little hot take at the end. So make sure you stick around. So everybody, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, today I am joined by Austin Abbott. You've probably seen him all over Twitter. You've started to see him now show up on Player Profiler, TikToks, Twitter, Instagram Reels, all over, giving us some great little short video content, talking about some rookies, and I'm sure plenty more to come. Austin, how are you doing?
What's going on, man? It's great to meet you, Jason, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk ball. We got some big free agency signings, so today's going to be a fun one.
It is, and it always is. I love having guests on the show. It's cool because, I pretty much just talk with the audience about what's going on, and they hear my thoughts on the same stuff over and over and over. So it's good to get, an outside opinion, get some other stuff flowing for the audience here. So why don't we just go ahead and talk about what you just said? There are some great free agency signings. I'm curious if you could maybe give us a few of your favorite from this week.
Yeah, man. The first one that sticks out to me, it's blatantly obvious. It was DeAndre Swift, right? He's a player that I liked in Philadelphia. I thought he had a career year, and people forget he's only 25 years old. Like, it feels like he's kind of been like low-key in the league for a long time, and Not really, man. Like he's literally 25 years old. He had 1,049 rushing yards this past season, career high. I know his receptions dipped a little bit, but it's all good, man. Like all things considered, it was a phenomenal season, and I think the Chicago Bears clearly thought the same thing. They compensated him extremely well. That 3-year extension, $24 million and 15.3 guaranteed, right? Those are some big boy numbers, especially in this market for the running backs. So good on DeAndre Swift. Happy for him. The second, he's actually my dynasty running back 16. So I bumped him up a little bit. I'm pretty happy with where he's at. And, I'm anticipating Caleb Williams being in Chicago. Maybe they add Rome Odunze at the 9th overall pick, DJ Moore. Like that Chicago offense could be pretty sick, man. So next guy I want to sorry, go on, Jason.
I just want to ask you, I guess, a question or two about DeAndre Swift. Are you expecting like full on bell cow, maybe just a 55% guy? What are you feeling from this backfield?
He's 100% going to be the guy. 100%. Okay. He got paid accordingly, and money talks. You look at his competition. No disrespect to Roschon Johnson, he's absolutely not going to be the guy, right? He did not perform well during his rookie campaign. Deontay Foreman, I'm not necessarily sure. Is he still under contract? I think he is officially gone. Okay, I wasn't sure if he had one final year left on his contract. Regardless, it did not matter. And then you have Khalil Herbert, who at the end of the day, I felt like, man, if he was ever going to pop off and truly be the guy, it was last season, and he ultimately, I would say, disappointed, right? So that's why they, their actions speak louder than words. Chicago just gave the bag to DeAndre Swift. So good on him. The second player in free agency that really caught my eyes, Saquon Barkley, man. Okay. Wow. I could say like I saw this coming to a certain degree, because there were rumblings. It felt like for a few weeks that whether Saquon wasn't necessarily very happy with where he was, but I found it wild that Joe Sheehan, the Giants general manager, didn't even offer Saquon Barkley an extension. That really surprised me. I thought that was kind of a silly move. I thought he absolutely, I would argue he's without question at this point their best offensive weapon, right? Probably maybe the best player on their entire roster. Like Saquon Barkley, I know. They drafted him 2nd overall, and I wouldn't necessarily say that. I don't want to say he didn't live up to the hype. It's just, when you draft the running back 2nd overall, obviously you have to perform at a top tier level every single season to be, a positive ROI, return on investment. But Saquon is actually my dynasty RB7 right now. I'm very in on him, man. I think he's going to fit very well in Philly's offense. And their offensive line was ranked top 3 last year, whereas the Giants were 31st. Night and day difference. And keep in mind, man, like Saquon as a rookie, I know this is several years back now, he had 15 touchdowns, over 90 receptions. He had over 2,000 total yards. So we see what his ceiling is like. Yeah. And now imagine him going to a significantly better offensive line, significantly better roster. I'm not saying he's going to put up those numbers again. I'm just saying, man, with Cam Jurgens probably filling in for Jason Kelce, Landon Dickerson 4-year extension. They bolstered that offensive line for Philly. Yeah, I feel like it's wheels up for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, it definitely is. I admittedly really wanted him to go to the Texans, but the Eagles is still a really great landing spot. When that signing happened, we talked about it. The Eagles had 93 targets to the running back last season. Swift had like 50 and Kenneth Gainwell had like around 30 something. I don't think Gainwell is going to push anywhere near that next season. It's going to be Saquon Barkley's backfield. They're not going to be able to push as much without Jason Kelce. There's going to be less Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns. I'm expecting big things from Saquon Barkley. And actually, for the audience, and I guess separately for you, we're pre-recording this episode yesterday to you guys, today to us, Thursday afternoon. And the post that I'm posting tonight is actually updated projections. Our player profiler stat of the day. We're making a projection of the day. And actually, after landing in Philadelphia, we have moved him from RB8 projected finish to a RB5 projected finish, which is, pretty nice. So make sure you go check out that social post on the Twitter. It's pretty cool. Really nice projections for him next year. Who's your next guy? Do you have another guy?
And you actually do have one final player. We have a wide receiver just pivoted to the Carolina Panthers, Deontay Johnson, man. When I got this notification, I was just I I did a double take, looked at my phone, and I was like, wow. Like I guess I saw it coming to a certain degree because again, it felt like Deontay wasn't necessarily infatuated or ecstatic being in Pittsburgh, and I don't blame him catching passes for the past 2 seasons from, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, whoever it may be. But man, Deontay, he feels like a sneaky winner to me, and shout out to George Pickens as well. I think this is one of the rare cases where we're seeing multiple guys benefit from this. Pickett wasn't doing him any favors, and yes, I know he's gone now. They have Russell Wilson. It would have been cool to see Deontay play with Russ, but we saw what Deontay could do when he had a competent quarterback back 3 seasons ago with Big Ben, right? And no, I'm not saying Bryce Young is the next Big Ben. I'm just saying we know that Deontay's ceiling is real. He finishes the wide receiver 7 when he had, again, a competent quarterback the last time he had one. His upside's absolutely real. Like, he had 169 targets, 107 receptions, 1,161 yards, 8 touchdowns. Those are big boy numbers. They don't happen on accident, right? Deontay has always been a target fiend. He's a target hog, right? He knows how to separate at a high level. And the final thing I'll say, man, is you got Adam Thielen now. You got DJ Chark, Jonathan Mingo. None of them are real threats. Like, Deontay was clearly traded for because they needed a true wide receiver 1 for Bryce Young. They want to build around Bryce Young. They absolutely should. They should have done a better job last season. And Deontay was a dog at Toledo, man. He was a dog for Pittsburgh. I think he's going to be a dog for the Carolina Panthers, man. I'm excited. And if you're a Deontay owner, I think you should be pretty happy about this.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a big Deontay Johnson guy. I don't know. And I think when I first saw it, my first reaction was, I hope the Panthers aren't done. I think he's an excellent number 2 and probably a good 1B at most. And I would like to see at least one more wide receiver come in for the Panthers to be fully on board with that offense. I still think it's just going to be a bit tough. I don't think if it does enough. Do you feel that at all? Or are you truly he's enough? He's the alpha. He's going to go in. He's commanding a ton of targets. He's kind of resurging Bryce Young's passing performance, all that stuff.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you said. Right now, as of today, Deontay is the clear wide receiver 1 there, but there's a lot of time, man. We have the NFL draft approaching. They have 2 early second-round picks, I believe. Yeah. You could double-check me on that, and I would highly anticipate them walking away with, at minimum, 1 receiver in this draft, 1 high-profile prospect. It could be somebody, let's say Xavier Legette, Ladd McConkey, that type of tier, that range. I'm just throwing out a few names. Hell, maybe I don't expect Xavier Worthy or AD Mitchell to fall to them early second. I kind of think they're going to both go first round. But in the event that they were still on the board, I think they would absolutely pull trigger. But yeah, man, they're going to definitely add to the wide receiver room, and they absolutely should.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then I think we're on the same page. I think especially at Deontay Johnson's value, you're probably going to be able to get a decent bit of value and return on investment, the ROI, with some DJ on your roster. And that's not a bad way to stack your Bryce Young in super flex leagues if you're feeling real budgety, because there's going to be a lot of pass volume. They want Bryce Young to play point guard. They want a ton of passes from him next season. So I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go ahead. We talk about the draft. Why don't we talk about the draft? And you already answered one question earlier that I was going to ask here, but we'll just kind of reiterate this. What are the Bears doing with the number 1 pick? We're starting to hear rumors they might be trading it. Justin Fields is still on the roster. What's going on in Chicago?
So I do like how Washington's starting to make things a little interesting. Of course, Caleb, being from that area. And now Washington has an abundance of picks after that trade today. So we're starting to see if there was... Man, I'm just going to be blunt and say it. Chicago is not moving the first overall pick. It is 100% Caleb Williams, but you can see the argument to be made where Washington is looking to make that move, right? I'll be blown away if they actually got it done. I would be blown away. They're going to ask for a king's ransom and then some. And I think Washington is going to stay put at 2, and I think they're going to draft Drake May. But Caleb, he is without question the 101. It would blow my mind if Chicago moved on from that pick, because remember, man, they had it last year too. They could have taken Richardson. They could have taken Stroud, Young. they coughed up the pick. Again, they got the bag for it. No, they're not going to do it again, man. Chicago's really never had, if you look at their history, a dominant, like top tier quarterback.
They haven't.
So I think they're finally going to get at least a top tier prospect, right? And hopefully Caleb ends up being everything that they hoped for and more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that they have to pick Caleb Williams, and I'm not sure what they do with Justin Fields. Hopefully they trade him, and that will kind of move us to 103. I want the Patriots to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and trade for Justin Fields. I think that would be electric. I think that'd be a really fun offense, and I think that'd be a good way for the Patriots to at least try to take a step forward without wasting a ton of capital. What do you think the Patriots will do with 103? And, what do you think of that?
That would be electric. I actually haven't heard that theory. I am all aboard. I am all for it. That would be awesome. That'd be good content. And I think that'd be logical, rational, like just a rational decision, right? Because yes, I'm still in on Justin Fields. I still believe Justin Fields can thrive in the right environment, right? He was thrown to the Wolves, did not succeed. Most quarterbacks wouldn't. Marvin Harrison Jr., I'll tell you what, man, he is a top 3 talent, a blue chip talent, top 3 player, top 3 prospect in the 2024 draft. If I'm on the clock, I absolutely agree. I would take him, but what's going to happen, what I firmly believe, it's gonna be Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whoever's remaining. I really think it's gonna go Caleb 1, Drake May 2, and Jaden Daniels 3. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm not buying into the rumors that Drake May is falling, man. Like last year we had it with CJ Stroud. Oh, he's fallen from 2 to like 5 or 6. It's like, it didn't happen, man. Right. And I don't think I understand these situations aren't necessarily identical.
Right.
I don't see Drake May falling, man. I think at the absolute latest, May falls to 3, but I think he'll be going 2. And again, New England taking Jaden Daniels with the 3rd overall pick. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think if Jaden Daniels is there, and that's kind of the reports, right, is that if Jaden Daniels there, they're probably going to pick him. And then the conflicting reports are what happens with Drake May. You say you're not buying into it. I don't know. I think I just want I'm just going to be selfish and want the Marvin Harrison Jr., Justin Fields thing to happen. We're just going to put it out there and say that that's what I think will happen too.
Hey man, if there's one thing that I want from every draft, I just want pure chaos. Like I want it to be good content. I want it to be chaotic, hectic. Like last year when we had the Texans back on the clock after 2, they got back on the clock at 3. Everybody was like nobody saw that coming, and clearly worked out extremely well drafting Will Anderson. He was a beast this season. But man, that's exactly what I want. I just want chaos. I want it to be unpredictable. Like I might sound pretty confident right now, man. When one thing goes wrong early on in the draft, it's the domino effect. All of my future projections are throw them all out, man. I'll be wrong about everything else. So that's what I want.
Yeah, it's so tough to predict whatever goes on. All these general managers calling each other frantically. I can't even imagine. I love watching the war room footage. Just so cool. Like what's going on.
It's the best reality TV series in the world. It really is.
It really, really is. So I mentioned at the top of the show, you've been putting together a lot of rookie prospect videos for us. And so I would like you to maybe talk about a couple rookies or maybe even just one. I don't care. But just one of these rookies that are maybe less talked about that you're kind of starting to fall in love with.
A player that I want to talk about today, it's a sleeper, Malik Washington. And here's what matters most. He was first in receptions in college football with 110. First in receptions per game, 9.2. Fourth in receiving yards in college football. He had over 1,400 yards. I just feel like it's not talked about enough. He was second in receiving yards per game, 118.8. And I'll keep it short, but 2023, it was just truly an incredible campaign for him. He had 35 forced missed tackles, which was first in the nation. He crushed in contested catch rate despite his size, despite being 5'9", 192. He had a 65% contested catch rate. I mean, that's crazy, man, right? That's almost like Rome Odunze tier, right? He was 75%. Right. And then you're looking at some of the best receivers in the class, like Marvin Harrison Jr. was around 43%, Malik Neighbors 45%. Again, this 5'9" wide receiver, Malik Washington, was at 65% in contested catch rate. Also, you want to talk yards per route run, everybody's favorite metric. I don't know why, but it seems to be everybody's favorite metric. 3.15 yards per route run versus man. How about zone? 3.38, even better. And some more notable information, 90th percentile in separation. Look, man, there's two things that matter when you're a wide receiver. You have to be able to separate and you have to be able to catch the ball. Clearly, 90th percentile, pretty darn good. He dominated in one-on-ones at the Shrine Bowl. And final thing I'll say, I think he can absolutely thrive in the slot, and I think he's going to be a vital extension, like part of the run game as well, low key. I think he's a polished route runner. He's a leader, man. He was a team captain at Virginia. Close to 4.5 speed. I just think that Malik Washington's the truth. I thought very highly of him. I think he needs to be talked about way more than he is right now. I expect him to go like third round, man. I would love to see the Jets draft him, compliment Garrett Wilson paired with Aaron Rodgers. I think it would be a great fit. That's a team that needs a receiver too. I don't necessarily think he's going to go on to be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL, but I think he's going to be a very solid wide receiver 2 for some team.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like you're talking about Tank Dell. Like if you remove the name, right? Just a hyper efficient, undersized college wide receiver that had all the metrics you want, but just people couldn't quite get on board because it was a smaller school and he's undersized. But you look at the game logs, he had only one game under 97 yards, if I remember correctly. That's just insane. Like just, 100 yards after 100 yards after 100 yards after 100 yards after 100 yards. Just that it's insane production. I do think with the right landing spot, he's going to be, really something special and a good value in these rookie drafts. So that's a good one. Thank you for Malik Washington. I won't even make you give another rookie. That's a good one. We'll move on. We'll talk about one of the bigger trades of today, and this is for the Atlanta Falcons. They are trading, Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore. It just sounds like a trade that goes down in an actual fantasy football league, but no, it is an NFL trade. When you saw this, what did you think?
Man, I've never been, I know Rondale Moore put up like stupid numbers in the gym, like squatting, and Rondale Moore was kind of an electric prospect, right? He was Purdue, if I remember correctly. He was he was crazy in college. I remember his final collegiate season was absurd, but unfortunately he never really panned out in the NFL. It doesn't really necessarily move the needle for me as far as fantasy production goes. Maybe he can benefit them in the NFL, which at the end of the day, right, that's all that they're focused on. So maybe it is a relatively positive addition, but this was a unique trade, man. This did feel like a fantasy football trade, right? I think you said it best.
Yeah, it was so weird when I saw it. I was like, oh, Desmond Ridder traded to the Cardinals. That makes sense. They need a backup quarterback. Oh, it was for Rondale Moore? What a weird return. And I love it. I've actually always just been on Rondale Moore. I like these undersized guys that are just hyper productive and just fun to watch. I don't think he's going to, have ridiculous stats or anything, but I think he could finish the season, right around what he's been doing, except add some touchdowns to that. He's only had 3 touchdowns his entire 3 seasons, 1 touchdown each year. So it's not that good, but he still finished around 40 to 50 receptions, around 400 yards. I think that's his floor on this Falcons offense. Kirk Cousins loves those slot receivers. The Rams and the Sean McVay system loves those slot receivers. He's not going to get a ton of targets. It's still going to go Drake London, Kyle Pitts, now Darnell Mooney, probably Bijan Robinson ahead of him too. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him used in an interesting way and actually make an impact for this team.
Yeah.
And also, Desmond Ridder's a good backup for Kyler Murray.
Right. Man, I would love to see the 2 GMs and how this trade went down. You think one of them just shot the other guy a text yo, you want a quarterback? You need a receiver? I just wonder how, what the dialogue was actually like. I have no idea, but I just thought it was funny. It was a unique trade. And it's something where you look at your phone and you're just like, what? That really just happened,
Yeah. I can't name a single player for player trade, just a 1-for-1 swap. I can't name one. Chat, if you could, when you're watching this, please maybe enlighten me. I'll check in just to see if there's one, or maybe tweet me. I could probably also Google it, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. I feel like there's at least some sort of pick moved in. It's just so weird to see this. Anyway, bird team to bird team, getting player for player. And we both kind of like it at least a little bit for just regular football production. Which we'll move on to the next trade. I think there's a lot more to look into here. This is Sam Howell being sent to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks will be receiving Sam Howell, a 4th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick the Commanders will receive a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick. So essentially they are moving up, looks like about 25 spots in the draft and getting rid of Sam Howell to the Seahawks. I think that's the best way to break it down. What are your thoughts on this?
I love this. I think this is good all around. The only loser is Geno Smith in this situation. Yeah. And sorry, Geno, man. Here's what I'll say. Geno, you just got paid. So, like, it's okay, man. Nothing matters anymore. You got paid. You got the bag. Life is good. You can go right off in the sunset, retire. You can do whatever you want because you got all the money in the world. So, I don't really feel that bad for Geno now that we just ran through that, his previous contract, or his current contract rather. But now we're in this situation where it's like, yes, they clearly want to they want to bolster the QB room. They just added Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell's got to be ecstatic, man. Like, he knows they got the 2nd overall pick. I'm talking about Washington. He knows he's not going to be the guy moving forward. They're 100% going quarterback. It's one of the 2 quarterbacks, whether it's Drake May, which I think it's going to be, or Jaden Daniels. That is the pick for the Washington Commanders. And Sam Howell's in a situation where he's now done a complete 180. He's got to be jumping for joy. He's got a real chance to beat out Geno Smith to start again now for the foreseeable future. Like if he's the guy week 1, or if Geno's banged up, gets hurt, whatever, Sam Howell takes over, dude, this is his job to lose at that point, right? And he's still young. He can still get paid for a fat contract moving forward. I'm very happy for Sam Howell. And this also makes for good content for the NFL draft, because now Washington has more draft capital. Again, we talked about this earlier, Jason. They can now make a stronger push to land Caleb and the 1st overall pick. So I don't think it's going to happen, but now they have more draft capital to make it happen. So this is great all around. I was happy to see this trade.
Yeah, let's get your take. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who's starting week 1? Sam Howell, Geno Smith?
Oh man, oh my God, give me a sec. Let me think about this.
All right, I'll talk.
Let me think about this. Wow, this is a valid question. I thought it crossed my mind at work. I'll tell you what, I feel like it's gonna be Geno Smith. Okay. I do think it's gonna be Geno Smith. I understand he's still under contract. They brought, they could have moved on from him this offseason. The second he struggles, the second it gets ugly, I really think he's going to be on a very short leash. We could see Sam Howell take over as early as week 5. It would not surprise me, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think since not much was necessarily given up to acquire Sam Howell, I don't think this trade was made for Sam Howell to be the starter. However, I do think it will probably end up that way. I don't think this coaching staff is very committed to Geno Smith. At the combine, the head coach came out and said that we don't know what we're going to be doing with Geno Smith or Drew Lock. And I would assume if you're a head coach, you would know what's going on in your quarterback room before you sign that contract. And so I was not very confident when I saw that quote. Definitely not confident now. They had to restructure Geno Smith's contract, so I know he still got some money, but less than what he was hoping for. And I think that ultimately, I think that right now Geno Smith's the starter, but I wouldn't be surprised if through the offseason, through preseason, just Sam Howell adds just a little extra something, a little electricity to this offense and just funness. I mean, he had 263 rush yards and 5 rush touchdowns last season. He had almost 4,000 passing yards. I know he had an interception problem, but there was a stretch there where he was like a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. So I think that ceiling is going to attract the new coaching staff and a team that's ultimately getting younger and changing all around. So I think right now it's Geno, but I think we're going to see Howell sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm kind of in the same boat. So
it sucks for Geno, though. I do really feel for him because I know he had a thing with Carroll. Anyway, it's anyway.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
But he's gone now, man. It's everything's going to change. I feel like That's
I know. It's a tough business. It's a tough world to live in as an NFL athlete. Even if you're making millions of dollars, it might just not be enough. Which, speaking of someone making $1 million despite not doing enough, Hayden Hurst is signing with the Chargers. I didn't look into the contract details. I know they also made a move for Will Dissly. So I'll just ask this. Are you investing in either Hayden Hurst or Will Dissly in best ball?
No. Short answer is no. Hayden Hurst would be, if I had to pick one of the two tight ends, it would be Hayden Hurst. And of course, anytime you're paired with somebody, as great of a passer as Justin Herbert, right, you're going to probably turn your head and take a second look at it. Best ball would probably be the type of situation where if you were to invest in one of the players, right, just because of how dominant their quarterback is, right, I think very highly of Justin Herbert. I think he's going to throw for a ton of yards this year, a ton of touchdown passes. Right, it's the most warm take you'll ever hear. I think highly of Herbert. I think that with the 5th overall pick, man, we might see Malik Neighbors come off the board. I know that they drafted Quentin Johnston at the end of the first last season, but it hasn't panned out quite as. I'm not saying his career's over. I'm just saying it hasn't panned out like how they anticipated. Right. Mike Williams gone, man. Keenan Allen, I think he's gonna stay at this point. But again, it would not surprise me if they said, "Look, man, we need to hang with the Kansas City Chiefs. We need more firepower on this offense. We're gonna go out and we're gonna draft a true blue chip talent, a top tier wide receiver in Malik Neighbors." Not to get off topic, right? I understand we're talking about the tight ends, but that's kind of where my head's at as far as the Los Angeles Chargers offense moving forward for the 2024 season.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm with you. If I'm not going to be getting Hayden Hurst anywhere, it's a tight end that I, for some reason, always fall for at the end of drafts.
Mm-hmm.
He just has that promise. Former first-round pick, the right size. Sometimes always flashes, but I'm just not in on it this year. And we saw even in Michigan, Harbaugh kind of use 2 tight ends every year, and it's just going to be too crowded. I know Will Dissly's more blocking, but like you mentioned with Malik Neighbors, or really they're going to invest in wide receiver in this draft. Keenan Allen still commands a ton of targets. And I think them signing Gus Edwards means they'll probably also draft a pass-catching running back. That's my thought process, at least, because I don't really think you want to commit to Gus Edwards, really. I don't think so, at least, especially when you're a run-heavy offense like the Chargers plans to be next year. So either way, I don't think Hayden Hurst is a good enough investment, especially in a league where you have to manage your lineup. Before we move on, I do want to commend him. I know he had a very scary head injury at the end of last year. We weren't even sure if he was going to retire or anything. So good on him getting back on the field. Good on him getting a contract. And, hopefully it's not too serious and he can stay healthy next season. So let's move on to – or go ahead. Did you have something to say?
No, I was just going to add one thing, man. You were talking about a pass catching back with the Chargers. Could you imagine if, I know Bucky Irving didn't have a good combine, but oh my God, could you imagine? I'm telling you, the whole dynasty community would overreact to it. Even if he's a day 3 pick, which he's going to be, the whole dynasty community would, he would jump up rankings like crazy. So that would just be interesting, right? That would just, it would kind of get me back in a little bit more on him because he was so good for Oregon this past season.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the Chargers have gotten luck on an undervalued Oregon Duck before. So, maybe time is a flat circle and they'll this time get some Bucky Irving action. I don't mind the call. Don't mind the call. So we'll go to what everyone's been waiting around for, Austin. We're ready to hear your hot take. What do you got for us? What's happening in 2024 that no one else is talking about?
Man, I think the fade has just gone way too far for Troy Franklin. Speaking of Oregon, right?
Okay.
It drives me crazy, right? I thought everything that we saw from Troy Franklin, his final season in college, was absolutely phenomenal. 81 receptions, 1,383 yards, 14 touchdowns. And some other notable information, man, 6'2", 176 pounds, 3.32 yards per route run. He ran a 4.41, which is 90th percentile. It's so funny, Jason. People are so frustrated. They're so mad that he didn't run close to Xavier Worthy or 4.3 time. And it's dude, this is still 90th percentile. That is very, very good. And it was just, it's just his 40 time. At the end of the day, your 40 time does not dictate your success in the NFL. His catch radius was 88th percentile. And a few final things that you need to know about Troy Franklin. He's wildly elusive. He had more missed tackles forced than Marvin Harrison Jr. and A.D. Mitchell combined. Okay, so that really impressed me. He's just dropping so much in rankings. Again, it's because of his weight, and he struggled at the gauntlet at the NFL Combine. It's come on, man. Would I have liked to see him perform better? Yes, but no, that's not going to drop him to this degree. his college production was fire. His speed, again, 4.41 is very impressive, and he's still going to receive immense draft capital, man. I think he's going to still be a first round pick. I know everybody's like, oh, he's early second, mid second now. No, I really believe when you actually look at all 32 teams that are on the clock and you see how many of them could benefit from a wide receiver, we're going to see close to the record. Back in 2004, we saw 7 receivers go. That was the most of all time, right? This 2024 class, man, not only does it have the high-end talent, it's got the depth at the wide receiver position. It's going to be close. It could be 6 receivers. It could be 7. It could be the first time we see 8. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's going to be right there. So stop fading Troy Franklin, man. He's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, the stats don't lie at the end of the day, and the combine was still fine, as you mentioned. I know it was just disappointing, but it was still good. So I'll ask the question that everyone's been asking. I'm curious your thoughts. Is it just the Oregon Ducks system? Because you see Bo Nix, underwhelm at the Senior Bowl and the Combine. You see Bucky Irving underwhelm throughout this process. You now see Troy Franklin underwhelmed throughout this process. So is it an Oregon Ducks thing, or does it even really matter? All 3 of these guys are still great athletes and going to be good in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't. Short answer is no. I don't think that it's an Oregon Duck thing. There's so many variables that come into play, Jason. There's so many different factors. At the end of the day, it's difficult to pinpoint it to one thing. I just know that the production was real in 2023. And when I evaluate players, when I evaluate prospects, production is always going to be the most important thing to me, right? Like at the end of the day, yes, I want you to be a good athlete. I want you to be able to separate. I want you to have good size. But when you produce, that is raw evidence. That is pure evidence that you clearly were good at football that season to a certain degree, right? So when you produce again at a very high rate, it's always going to get my attention.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you at all. I like the call. The fade. I don't think anyone's been faded as much as he has throughout like the last few weeks. Maybe him and Braylon Allen are just kind of completely.
Audric Estime, yeah,
Audric Estime. But he wasn't like a fringe first round rookie pick before this. He was anyway. Doesn't matter. Love the call. Right. Great hot take. You told me it was a little cold going in, but I think that's a good one. I mean, he has been like everyone and their mother hates Troy Franklin right now, so I appreciate the flag plant. We might have to have that put on your My Guys profile on playerprofiler.com. You might have to pick Troy Franklin. So thank you so much for joining me, man. This was a ton of fun and great episode, great information all around. So thank you again. I would love to be able to send the audience to you. So why don't you tell some people where they can find you, what you're working on, all that.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Jason. Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you. This was so much fun, man. This went so fast. Like I'm looking at the clock, just over 30 minutes. It's like, where did that go? But as far as my content goes, man, I put everything out on all social media platforms. I am primarily on Twitter. However, that's where I spend 27 hours a day, somewhere between there. It's a double-edged sword, man. I love putting out prospect profiles, rookie profiles, just player profiles in general. I really just I enjoy the 2024 class. I enjoyed the 23 class. I just enjoy rookies in general. Like that is what I find to be most passionate about. That's what I enjoy studying the most. And man, I just dropped my Dynasty top 50 running back rankings today. Nice. Yesterday, I dropped top 100 wide receiver rankings. Threw them up on Twitter at Austin Abbott FF. But I appreciate y'all. It's been so much fun, man, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you again, Jason. This has been great. Yeah, we'll have to have you on again, especially as all of these things will totally change within the next couple of weeks. So thanks again for joining me, audience. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all Monday on the Player Profiler YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter with another special guest, Theo Greminger. So get your seatbelts buckled, get ready for a good one, and I'll see you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.